divine children, gods and goddesses of creation. Welcome to the first chapter of Trinity Story Sharing Time, where we're going to read a story called The Secrets of the Pirate Inn. Very cool. Thank you for being with us here tonight on this beautiful evening. Here's some illustration on the first couple of pages. And there's the author, Wylly Folk St. John. All right. Let's jump right into it. The first chapter is called A Pirate Hangout. They were all in the family room that morning when the surprising letters came. Jack brought in the mail and put it down in front of Mama, who was sitting at the table stringing beans. Then he stood close to her with both elbows on the table and his chin on his fists. One leg was twisted around the other, and his up-tilted backside just invited somebody to slap it, but Amy was too far away to do it for him right then. Across the table, Sally was doing a buttonhole in the blouse she was making for Amy. She pulled the thread tight before she paused. "Any for me?" she said. Amy leaned over Mama's other shoulder and read aloud from the top envelope. "Mr. William Durden." "What in the world?" Mama said, putting the bowl on the table and gathering up her apron with the beans in it to keep them from scattering. "But it's got our address," Amy said. "And look at the funny slogan printed on it," she read aloud. "It's great to be a grand old man, or lady, in the Golden Age Haven." Sally, also puzzled, reached for the envelope. "William Durden was our grandfather's name." "As if we didn't know that," Jack said. "Matter of fact, he's not a grand old man exactly. He's dead." "He died before we were born," Sally confirmed, handing back the letter to Mama after assuring herself. Amy thought sarcastically that her younger sister could still read. "So what is somebody doing writing to him now, Mom?" "Here." "Well, this was his house," Amy pointed out, practicing the tone that Sally called her maddening voice. "The old Durden place, remember? So it was his address. And if somebody didn't know he had died..." "But that was nearly 17 years ago," Sally said, figuring. "You're only 16, Jack remarked provokingly, stressing the 6. "That's 6 years older than you are, smarty. And what has that got to do with it anyhow? Grandpa Durden died the year before I was born. That's all I said." "4 years before I was born," Amy said. "Mama, why do you reckon somebody's writing to him now?" Mama had already slit the envelope. "Quit that eternal squabbling, children. There's just one way to find out." "Hey," Amy said, "there's one for you, Sally, from Carol." She leaned over and with one finicky finger separated the rest of the envelopes to see the names on them. "Hey," she said in a different tone, a much more startled tone. You won't believe it, another letter addressed to Grandpa Durden." "You've got to be kidding," Sally said. "That's too weird." Jack squeezed across Mama to look. "Matter of fact, he's a very popular guy today." Mama shoved Jack's blonde head back and elbowed Amy out of her own dark blonde hair. "Give me room to breathe, children," she said in what they cheerfully referred to as her tired of being a mother voice. "Well, tell us," Sally begged impatiently. She didn't even open her letter from Carol. Though Amy handed it over, what's it all about? Mama was reading the first letter rapidly. "It's from a Miss Dibble of the Welfare Department in Port Oglethorpe, Georgia. They think my father is still alive and we're writing to him about why it's about Uncle Will. They believe my father is his closest relative and want him to sign papers so they can take care of Uncle Will in the country's golden age of Haven. Because he's 80. He's 88 and hasn't had any money and they think he's too old to live alone and look after himself any longer. Got a picture with this one? Very cool. And who's Uncle Will? Didn't I ever tell you about Uncle Will? Well, I guess not. Papa had lost touch with him a long time before he died. Of course, and I'd never seen him at all. I'd forgotten about him entirely. He was a sort of legend to me, though, when I was growing up. No, he was a sort of legend to me, though, when I was growing up, like John Henry or Paul Bunyan. I know all about them, Jack said. Who doesn't? Amy said. Shut up, go on, Mom. Well, he was the kind of relative who would drive parents out of their minds, but would enchant you children, I'm afraid. He did all sorts of outrageous things with my father when Papa was a little boy. Made up wild stories for him about things he had done as a young man, which he probably hadn't done at all. But Papa believed them. One I remember was about finding a huge diamond on some land he owned in North Georgia. And he had Papa doing every kind of outlandish thing he could think of, such as fishing through ice like the Eskimos once when the lake froze over, and the ice broke and Papa caught pneumonia, as well as one teeny little fish. And one vacation, he and Papa went to live a whole week in a tenant house with a farmer he knew, to pick cotton. Papa got 50 cents when they sold the cotton to the gin, the first money he ever earned. And once Uncle Will took Papa to Atlanta on the train, which was quite an experience. I guess it was, Jack said enviously. I've never ridden on a train, you know, Mama. Why don't we get to go on a train sometimes instead of just in cars and airplanes? Because you haven't got an Uncle Will, I guess, Mama said. But we have, Sally pointed out. Isn't he sort of our uncle too? If he was Grandpa's uncle, he'd be your great-uncle and our great-great-uncle. But he's too old to do anything that's fun now, Amy said sadly. 88. Imagine being 88. Read the other letter, please, Mom, Jack said impatiently. It might be something more exciting. Once Uncle Will persuaded a circus man he knew, Mama said as she went on remembering, holding the second letter still unread in her hand, teasing him with the suspense, to let him and Papa dress up and be clowns with the circus for one performance. Papa fell off the elephant and broke his arm, but he never forgot that elephant. Her name was Bella, and Uncle Will was always making up games and puzzles and rhymes for Papa, and they wrote a book together. I still have it somewhere among Papa's things in the attic, I guess, if the silverfish haven't eaten it. What was it about? Jack said. Matter of fact, I've always wanted to write a book. I don't remember. Some preposterous nonsense. I remember Papa showing it to me, though, when I was about 10, and telling me how much fun it had been to draw the pictures and color them with some paints. Uncle Will made one day when Papa had a cold and couldn't go out and play in the snow. Come to think about it, maybe Uncle Will was the one who invented finger paints. The illustration looked like finger painting. He used Grandma's food coloring and laundry starch and some dye she had been saving for something else, and walnut holes to make brown. She was at a church meeting. I guess they messed up her kitchen pretty thoroughly. She didn't admire the book much. She didn't care for Uncle Will's dogs either. He always had a dog or two. My father's favorite was a black and white, very mixed breed dog named Barkus. His father was an Eskimo Spitz, they thought, and his mother some kind of terrier. He had a white upcurved tail, and he loved Papa and Uncle Will and hated everybody else. Grandma couldn't go near him, in her own kitchen, without getting snarled at. He even bit her once. Sounds like a good dog, Jack said. I bet Barkus would have liked me too. Amy's the one animals love. Sally snubbed him. Oh, just because she wants to be a veterinarian. But Grandma must have missed Uncle Will around the garden after he left, Mama went on. His fingers were all green thumbs, Papa used to say. Uncle Will grew wonderful flowers. Maybe Grandma would have liked him better if he'd grown corn and tomatoes. Did she run him off? Amy asked. I mean, how come your Papa lost track of him when he grew up? I wonder, Mama said. All Papa knew was that one day Uncle Will told him he had to go downtown to the coast, that he and Barkers were going to the beachcombs for a while. And did Papa want to come too? Of course Papa did, but Grandma wouldn't let him. I suspect she might have been getting rid of Uncle Will and his dog at last. He wasn't her brother, he was Grandpa's, and maybe it was a nuisance to have a brother-in-law around, especially one who kept her only child so stirred up all the time. I wonder why Uncle Will didn't write. Maybe he did at last, Jack said. Maybe this letter is from him. What did he call Grandpa? Was he named William for Uncle Will? Sally asked. Mama nodded. Uncle Will called him Willie, but he was William to everybody else. And Papa said probably Uncle Will did write, but sent the letters by carrier pigeon or threw them in the ocean in a bottle. That would have been just like him. Anyhow, Papa never heard from him. He decided beachcombers don't care much about keeping in touch. Then Grandpa grew up and got married, Sally said thoughtfully. And after a while, Amy said, he was so grown up he didn't even wonder anymore where Uncle Will was or why he didn't write. Except Jack said dreamily, he never forgot how it was to be a clown on an elephant named Bella, or to catch a fish through ice like an Eskimo. Sally had finished the buttonhole now and had laid her sewing down. She was absent-mindedly stroking her hair down, the way she always did when her hands weren't busy with something else, trying to make it hang straight and turned up at the ends. Mama wouldn't let her iron it to take the natural curl out, the way some of the girls did. Amy sometimes tried half-heartedly to make hers straight too, but she didn't care awfully about being in, the way Sally did. She wouldn't have let Sally know it for the world, but she wasn't really in love with a single one of the monkeys either. She didn't love one of the animals, or a beetle, or anybody. Sometimes she even played Mama's old soft sweet records instead of Sally's when she was alone in the house. This is good. But she was as curious as Sally, and chimed in with, yes, Mom, do, when Sally said, read that other letter, Mama, why don't you? Jack said, matter of fact, it's sure to be from Uncle Will, if they're trying to get him. He might need help. Amy caught on excitedly. Oh, Mom, let's go help him. Her mother was reading the letter. It is from Uncle Will, she murmured. How did you guess, Jack? A folded paper dropped from between the pages to the table. Amy couldn't wait. She unfolded it quickly and glanced at it. Why, she said in surprise. It's nothing but an old counting out rhyme. Let me see. Jack grabbed it and looked. Funny way to count out. I've never heard of it. Lots of things you've never heard, Amy said. Jack read the page aloud. William, Mr. Trimbletoe. He's a good fisherman. Catches fishes, puts them in dishes. Catches hens, puts them in pens. Some lay eggs, some none. Wire, briar, limber, lock. 3 geese in a flock. One flew east, one flew west. One flew over the 2 gooses' nest. The clock ran down, the hands turned around. O-U-T spells out with a dirty dish rag. Mama was reading the letter in her hand over again with a very troubled look. I don't quite know what I ought to do, she said, mostly to herself. May I read it, Mama? Sally asked. Mama nodded, still thinking. Sally scanned the wavering, cramped, elderly-looking handwriting and read it out, with some unwanted help from Amy and Jack, who were now looking over her shoulders. Dear Willie, the letter said, if you are still at the old place and get this, I want you to know that when I die, you will have my diamond and all the money I got when I sold my North Georgia land, if you can find them. I bought this place what I got for the timber they cut from it earlier. I put a will, leaving everything to you in my big dictionary. I hid the money and the diamonds so that Miss Dibble couldn't find them. She's been trying for over a year to get me to turn everything over to the state to pay my board for the rest of my life in the Golden Age Haven for senior citizens. That means old folks' home in plain English, and I'm not about to let them get me. She says, I'm too old to look after things by myself any longer. When I get too old for that, I'll be dead. Poor Uncle Will, Amy said. Good for him, Jack applauded. Sally read on. But she may be right that I'm getting a little bit forgetful these days. I hate to admit it. Willie, and don't ever let Miss D know, but I've actually forgotten where I hid the money and the diamond. I hid them so well I can't find them anymore. I have that tantalizing feeling that I almost know, but can't quite remember. All I know for sure is that when I think about the diamond, a Spanish dancer keeps coming to mind, and I know I wrote down this old game we used to play, William Mr. Trimbletoe, to remind me how to find the money in a way Miss Dibble could never figure out. Trouble is, now I can't figure it out either. Do you remember when we used to count out with William Mr. Trimbletoe? I thought maybe you could work out from it what I could have done with my money. You were pretty good at solving puzzles. I used to make up for you when you were little. I guess you didn't ever get the letters I wrote you when I first left the old home, did you? Probably your mother thought it best not to give them to you. I wish now that I had gone back and seen you, but at the time I hated to bother her when she didn't want me around. If you get this letter, Willie, after so long, would you come to see me? My place is what's left of an old pirate inn on the coast near Port Oglethorpe. You might like it. It was a real pirate's hangout. Pirates! Jack couldn't keep still. Real pirates? When there were pirates on these seas, and it has an underground passage. An underground passage? From behind the bar to a hole in the bluff opening on the beach. Pirates used to Shanghai men who got drunk at the bar in the inn and take them out through this tunnel to put them aboard the ship. When they woke up, they were far out at sea under a skull and crossbones flag. You used to like Treasure Island, Willie. Do come, it would be great to see you again. As ever, Uncle Will. Poor Uncle Will, Amy said again. It's so sad that he didn't know he couldn't ever see Willie again. But he could see us, Jack said excitedly. Maybe you all could call me Willie when we go down there. After all, my second name is William. Mama, we're going, aren't we? School was out just in time, wasn't it? I don't know, Mama said. We'll have to see what your dad thinks about it all. Maybe a few days on the coast would be a pretty good beginning to your vacation, if your dad thinks we can afford it. Somebody ought to go and see about Uncle Will. Of course, and see Miss Dibble, and find out whether Uncle Will really does need to be taken care of or not. His letter sounds as though he might, and remember, she's no villain, the way you all seem to think. She's just trying to help. He'd rather be dead, he said positively. Oh, Mom, don't let her help him. Come and live here with us, Jack said. Where would we put him? Sally said practically. We're bursting out at the seams now. Besides, I doubt if he'd come in. He sounds to me like a mighty independent old cuss who'd fight everybody, who'd defend to the death, like Voltaire said. His right to stay in his own house, even if he was sick and starving. At least I think it was Voltaire. Voltaire never said anything like that, Mama had to tell her. He was talking about freedom of speech. I don't agree with a word you say, but I'll defend to the death your right to say it. Anyhow, let's go and help Uncle Will fight him off, Amy begged. Please, Mom, we're going to. I'll go and start packing. I told you I'd talk to your father, Mama said. He doesn't get his vacation until August. He won't be able to get away right now, I'm certain. But he might not mind if we went for a few days. If he has the money to spare for us to take a vacation as early as June. It won't cost much, Amy said. We can stay with Uncle Will, of course. In the old Pirate's Inn, Jack said, gloating. He might not have any spare beds, Mama said. It wouldn't be like Uncle Will to have any company beds. An inn must have had rooms fixed up, Amy argued. Silly. He surely bought it unfurnished, Sally pointed out. It wasn't still a Pirate's Inn when he bought it. They were all gone by then. Hung from the yard arm, Jack said with satisfaction, or maybe they'd walked the plank. The inn was probably falling down, Mama said dryly. If it was built in the days when there were still pirates on the coast of Georgia, and if Uncle Will is the way Papa described him, he probably didn't bother to fix it up much. He's probably still just camping out in a room or two that haven't quite tumbled down. That'll likely turn out to be why Miss Dibble is worried about him. We can take our sleeping bags then, Jack planned, and the cot for you, Mama. Matter of fact, that would be cool to camp out in a pirate's hangout. I could write a real neat theme about it next fall when my teacher wants us to write about what we did on our vacation. We'll pack right now, just in case, Amy said again. Come on, Jack. There'll be plenty of time to pack after Daddy decides, Sally said. But if we're going, Mama, let me know in time to break my date for Saturday night. Will you, please? I don't really mind, she added hastily. I'd rather go to Uncle Will's, of course. It's only Tim. Hold everything, children, Mama said. Amy, you and Sally get in the kitchen and finish the dishes. Jack, I'll bet you haven't taken out the garbage yet. Let's all do our day's work before we even think about doing anything else. Pirates never had to take out garbage, Jack grumbled. Matter of fact, pirates probably didn't even eat out of dishes at all, or have any garbage. They just gnawed big old drumsticks and threw the bones over their shoulders for the ship's cats. Ho, Amy scoffed, dragging him into the kitchen by one arm. How'd they gnaw their turnip greens without dishes, huh? Matter of fact, all the pirates I ever heard about never ate turnip greens, Jack said loftily. They'd have walked the plank before they'd have taken one single solitary bite of icky old turnip greens. I wish you'd quit saying matter of fact so much, Amy said. It's maddening. Matter of fact, that's why, Jack began. The phone rang, a loud ring that sounded urgent, and Sally leaped to answer it, calling, Amy, you start the dishes, and I'll be right there. Amy wasn't about to start the dishes without seeing whether the call might be for her. She leaped too, but Sally got the first. Amy heard her say, Wait a minute, please, and then to Mama, It's a telegram. What'll I say? It's a telegram for Mr. William Durden. Ooh. And that is chapter 1. All right. And to show you again, we'll show you the front. The secret of the pirate inn. Arr.
Arr. We all know the pirates.
Awesome.
Micah the pirate.
Thank you for tuning in to Trinity's story sharing time. We love you all so much. Children, gods and goddesses of creation all over the world. So grateful you could be here. Thank you to Mom and Dad as always. And we hope to see you next time.
Thank you, Father Omniverse.